Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Sanit Patel, who is the co-founder of the G Story, which is a content creation platform. He's also angel investor in many companies such as WebEngage, BotSync, Bharat Agri, and Let's Venture. Hi Sanit, welcome to ELI.
Hi Priya, thank you for having me.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Yeah, uh, firstly, thank you for the brief introduction. Like you mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur right now. Co-founded the G Story with my wife, and also on the side, I'm also an active angel investor.
Mhm.
Uh, I invest across sectors from early stage all the way to late stage, uh, an LP at a couple of VC funds as well. Um, Investing is my passion. Entrepreneurship has always been in my blood, and I love it. Um, by education, I've studied my bachelor's in administration from NMIMS, and then I've done my MSc in innovation and entrepreneurship from University of Warwick.
Mhm.
So that's a bit about myself.
Okay. Before we talk about G Story, would love to understand how it all started. How did you get initiated into entrepreneurship? Was there a family background of entrepreneurship, or how is it?
Yeah, so primarily I belong from a family business background. Uh, my ancestors have all been entrepreneurs, and I guess that entrepreneurship runs in the blood. So ever since I was a kid, I was always in the business environment, and that's how I ended up having my education also in, business administration and MSc in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
When I was studying, we had a textiles business, which was manufacturing and exports of home textiles. And I ran that business for 10 years as well, along with my father. It was initially started by my grandfather.
Okay.
So I guess I was born into a business background, and I didn't know anything except entrepreneurship. So uh, that's where the legacy continues.
Tell us a bit about the G Story, what it is about.
So the G Story is a content creation platform, which is co-founded by my wife Gayatri and myself. Gayatri is she studied visual communication and designing for 7 years. So she comes from a very creative background, and I come from a entrepreneurship business background. So we
Mhm.
sort of merged both together, and we came up with the G Story. It's a classic solution for all these D2C brands right now to create their content. What happened originally was, there was these mainstream digital agencies and social media agencies which were smaller, and then on the other hand, there were production houses.
Mhm.
But there was no one single place where the brands could go to only to create content, right?
Okay.
And that's where the G Story was born as a solution to uh, you know give the brands a place to create content for their online and offline channels.
So, is it more of a product or is it more of a service that we are providing?
So the G Story is a service. It provides a service when a brand wants to, say, launch new products, or they
Mhm.
want to come up with new campaigns. They come to us, and we uh, conceptualize the entire campaign around the theme, and what the product is and what the campaign is about. So Gayatri leads the team of stylists and creative minds at our agency, and they
Mhm.
come up with concepts and directions in which the brand could go to, and then we not only conceptualize but we execute it also for them. So we have a team of photographers, we have a team of editors, we have a team of stylists who bring this entire campaign alive together. So
Mhm.
that's essentially what we do. It could be in the form of photographs, images, it could be in the form of dynamic gifs, it could be in the form of reels, could be in the form of product videos, digital films. So everything that is currently shot is what we produce.
Okay. Uh, Tell us a little bit about the investing side of yourself. How did you get to how did you get introduced to the ventures that you have invested in, and what was the series of steps that happens while investing?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was quite an interesting journey for me to come about, investing in startups. Um, like I said initially, we had this family business, and then in 2019, we decided to sell it and, get out of it.
Mhm.
When we did that, we had capital to invest. And the idea was, to get out of an industry which was, conventional in India and, get into industries that were growing at a faster scale, where India was going to be, in the next 10 years. So why not take advantage of all these brilliant minds and entrepreneurs in India and,
Mhm.
help them to scale and ride the wave together with them.
Mhm.
So I got introduced to a couple of angel investment platforms. There are a bunch of them: Venture Catalyst, Mumbai Angels, IPV Inflection Point Ventures, Let's Venture, Trika,
Mhm.
to name a few. Um, Angel List is also one of them. So I got introduced to these platforms, and then slowly you start networking, you start meeting like-minded people, you start meeting entrepreneurs, founders, and then you sort of understand your thesis and what you believe in the ecosystem. And I think one step led to another, one deal led to another, and today we have a good vast portfolio that we are sitting on, and interacting with some amazing minds out there in terms of founders and entrepreneurs. And there's a lot to learn. I mean, when you're sitting and you're doing a conventional business, you actually don't even understand what is happening out there in terms of technology, systems, processes. And I think interacting with the entire ecosystem in India, it's been brilliant. And I think the lockdown also kind of catapulted this journey, because you're sitting at home, right, and you have access to video conferencing
Yeah.
platforms, and it just brings everyone together without moving an inch from your house. So I guess that journey, those 2 years, helped us a lot to sort of interact with people.
What was your first deal as an investor? Which is the first company you invested in?
Yeah, so it's a company called Pariksha. It's,
Okay.
as on today, it's India's largest
Mm.
vernacular edtech platform for state government job exams. It's led by a bunch of four co-founders: Karanveer, Utkarsh, Vikram, and Deepak.
Mm.
So I personally come from a belief of investments into social impact, right?
Mhm.
Bharat, as we call it, the rural India, is a
Right.
massive opportunity, and it is a space which requires intervention by educated people who have access to technology. And that is so, the first deal came about when I was attending this pitch day at Venture Catalyst, and Karanveer, one of the co-founders of Pariksha, was there. He was pitching, and I saw him, and I saw the energy and the enthusiasm with which he was talking,
Mm.
and I totally believed in the problem that he was solving. Bringing technology as a solution to create accessibility and affordability to these millions of aspirants in India who are trying to get a state government job. And state government jobs are, like the most aspired jobs in the rural India to go for once you graduate. So they were solving that problem, and Karan comes with so much positivity and with so much enthusiasm that I personally believe the founder is the first and the most critical step towards a company's success. And Karan ticked that box. I think that led to my first investment, and I think they've grown tremendously well in the years to come. There have been some exit opportunities, but I said, these are the guys with whom you double down and you don't exit.
Right.
And that's been the sort of journey with Pariksha for us.
So curious here. Once you have understood that a venture is worth investing, what do you do? How do you invest in that venture? Do you, approach them and say we want to invest, or if they're already, in talk with other investors, so they have, comparison to do. So what happens, if you can tell us?
So, I mean, actually, this experience changes in your early days versus once you are into the industry and once you have built relationships, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Companies don't only want capital, they want smart capital. They want
Right.
investors who can add value to the company. Because to write a check is not a big deal. Today there are tons of people sitting with liquidity and, they can write a check, but then they're not going to be active. They're going to be
Mm.
passive. They'll write a check and they'll be out of it.
Right.
What founders and entrepreneurs require in their early days is somebody who can handhold them, who can support them, and who can help them grow into the journey of entrepreneurship.
Mm.
So in the early days, yes, you need to convince founders, to take your check, and you need to bring about a confidence with them that, you are the right investor to partner with them. What happens now once you're into this space is that founders know you, they know what value you can add, and they want you to be a part of their cap table.
Mm.
So it's a distinct difference, investing in your early days versus investing in your later days, because once you're into the space for 4 5 years, you come about with a certain experience, you come about with a certain know-how and knowledge of how the space runs. So the founders and the entrepreneurs want you on the cap table, and they want to leverage your experience into the company. So I think, yeah, that would sort of summarize what you're asking.
Speaking speaking of the same, can you tell us what is your role as an investor? To what extent do you get involved in the company's day-to-day operations?
Yeah. So I don't necessarily get involved in their day-to-day operations, but I come up with a more eagle eye perspective where I help them with. I firstly identify where they are getting stuck or what requires an external attention. Once we narrow down on those focus points, we understand the root cause analysis as to what can be done to solve this. And once you identify that, you sort of plug them in with the right people that require their which they require the support for. So networking comes second after understanding the root cause analysis. You put them in touch with the right people, because once you're in the industry, you know the right kind of founders, you know the right kind of companies that can help them tackle these issues. um, After that comes, of course, the fundraising bit, where they need finance to grow, and they need the right kind of finance from the right kind of people. So you put them in touch with VC funds, with family offices, with founders who want to invest. So you network, you put them in touch, you kind of make them understand why this capital from this particular person is important, and you on the other side, you make understand those investors why this company is worth investing in and what is in it for the investors. So this entire approach is sort of crucial. And of course, then comes the strategic networking, where there are certain uh, partners that the companies could partner up with, certain companies that your portfolio companies could take advantage of. So then that kind of understanding, when you're talking, you suddenly realize that are isco, why don't we get these two guys connected, and both the companies could sort of take advantage of. So that kind of strategic networking and growth hacks.
Okay. Um, is there a criteria which you use to shortlist the companies you want to invest in?
Yeah. So we call it an overall investment ethos.
Mhm.
Our ethos is sort of, to back companies which primarily are driven by technology.
Mhm.
So anything that has technology at the base of the business is something that I would invest in. Uh, Also, the stage of the investment matters. Like there are a lot of investors who only invest in early stage versus investors who only invest in growth stage or late stage. So first comes, what the sector that you want to invest in. There are investors, who only invest in consumer tech or in fintech or in health tech. So there are sector based approaches as well. So I think these are the few main criteria that investors look at: the sectors, the stage of the company, and what drives the company. So these are the three main, uh, vision with which an investor would sort of narrow down on their companies. And then of course you go down into the founder's pedigree and the team, and the business as such, what they are doing and what problem they're solving.
One critical aspect of investing is valuation of a venture, and at a later
Yeah.
stage, when you have a cash flow with your venture, you can run a discounted cash flow, and you can attach a valuation number to a venture. But many times when angel investment happens, there is no cash flow for the business, and it's pretty difficult to come at a common number of what is the valuation of the company. So can you tell us how do you sort out this thing? I mean, what is the valuation of the company, and what is the amount that you pay for a certain stake at the company?
So valuation is primarily decided by two factors. One is a discounted cash flow, which is usually the case in early stage companies when the companies are not revenue generating. And the second way you can decide on a valuation is by the revenue multiple,
Hmm.
which comes in at a growth stage company where the company is already generating revenue. So if we talk about the early stage companies where it's more of a discounted cash flow, the entrepreneurs themselves, they come up with a valuation, which they want to ask, and then you sort of give your bid, understanding how much stake you want to pick up in the company.
Hmm.
So I think that would sort of, and then you sort of negotiate and meet somewhere in between and close in on the deal. So it's basically a discounted cash flow that the entrepreneur comes in with, and your dilution or your stake that you want to pick up, sort of that determines the final valuation in an early pre-revenue generating company.
Okay. One of the questions I asked to all the investors, especially this is crucial for angel investors. Uh, what happens when you find that you have invested in a company, but that company is not utilizing your cash in a right manner? How would you respond to that?
So I mean that is when a closer intervention is required, wherein you get on a call with the founder and you sort of understand their uh, reasoning behind how are they utilizing the cash versus how they should be. And I always believe in having a transparent and open discussion with the founders and having a very good rapport with them. So with all the invested companies that uh, we have a very personal relationship with the founders, where we are uh, continuously monitoring and understanding what the founders want to achieve, what is their short-term goal versus what is their long-term goal, and how they plan to utilize the cash. So um, I guess you already sort of need to know beforehand what is going to happen with that cash in the next 6 months versus
Mhm.
realizing what already happened with the cash in the previous 6 months. So predicting and having a common understanding of the future is very important when it comes to early stage investments, because you need to understand that these are founders who are also learning on their job. And when you come in at an early stage, they always are happy to take some external uh, advice and suggestions when they want to plan their journey.
What are the challenges that you have faced both as a investor and as a entrepreneur as well? What are the different challenges, major challenges that you have faced along the journey?
I think all the investors and entrepreneurs would agree to this, that the biggest challenge anybody faces is that of talent, of finding the right talent. Because a company is only as good as the people that the company has, is working with. And in today's time, uh, there are so many startups coming up. There are so many companies that are born. That finding the right talent for your company and to agree upon the terms of employment is extremely difficult. As an Speaking of myself as an entrepreneur, also, with the G story, uh, it was extremely crucial to find the right kind of people to work with, because at the end they are the ones who set the tone of the G story, and they are the points that are interacting with the clients, and eventually the clients identify the G story from the team that they are interacting with.
Hmm.
So extremely important and extremely crucial is, I think, the talent part of startups journey. And even from an investor's perspective, like I mentioned before, the founding team and then the actual team that they are building sort of determines, I think for me it's like 50 to 60% of the entire decision making, whether to invest in a company or not, because they are the ones who are going to basically drive the company forward.
Hmm.
And there is a massive crunch in terms of talent, if we speak as on today, especially on the tech side. There's a massive shortage, and it's becoming extremely difficult to find the right kind of people for your companies.
How do you manage your time on a day-to-day basis? Can you tell us how does your calendar look like for a typical day?
So for me, it's a bit different, right? Because I'm also an entrepreneur and an investor, and I'm an active investor who wants to give time to their portfolio companies.
Hmm.
So for me, the way I prioritize my day is by, what is the most uh, urgent task that requires my attention, and then I go towards more long term or strategic tasks.
Hmm.
So my day sort of starts off with the G stories work, where I'm uh, trying to wrap up the meetings and tasks that I need to for a with a shorter term interaction that requires from my side.
Hmm.
And then once that is taken care of, I go into the more meetings with my founders and meetings with tasks that require my attention towards my portfolio companies, or with more long term horizon. So I typically start working at 8:39 in the morning, and I think there are days when it sort of ends at 10 p.m. So long days, but exciting days. I mean, this is what I love doing, so no complaints.
What would you say is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How do you define the term entrepreneur?
So entrepreneurship, I think, is all about taking the risks, taking the challenges. It's about adventure. It's about giving you that adrenaline rush, and at the end, if you are successful and if you're lucky, there is a positive cash flow.
Hmm.
So I think entrepreneurship can be summed up as a combination of all of this together, and I think it's an extremely exciting journey that one can think of. If But I think luck also plays a very big factor in all of this. Uh, and yeah, I think it's something that I would wish everyone tries it at one point. There are success, there is failure, but there's a lot to learn out of it, and that learning curve actually sets you for the other part of your life, and I think it can benefit a person massively.
I think you mentioned you prioritize people over everything. The core core team is what defines the tone of the venture. So can you give one advice, or how you go about hiring the right people for your venture?
Yeah. So somebody early on in my days had told me that you hire slow, but you fire fast. That's how one should, sort of live an entrepreneur's journey, where you should take a lot of time to hire people, analyze them, study them, go deep into them, understand their mindset, experiences. uh, so when you are hiring, you take a lot of time and you take a lot of a detailed decision to sort of conclude as to whether you want to hire somebody or not. But then one should also, when you think the person is not performing right, you should also be quick enough to eliminate them from the team, because it also sort of spoils the entire
Mm,
rapport and the morale of the remaining team.
right.
So that is something that I follow. uh, when I'm hiring, I like to uh, take multiple interviews, see a lot of candidates, understand their understanding of the space. Not necessary they should come from the same industry, is something, of course, I believe in. So you could hire somebody, for a particular position uh, from a different industry, because then they come to you with a different mindset, which
Mm.
sometimes is very important. You see a third perspective into what you're doing and the way you're doing things. But what matters is, the way they think, and I think that changes everything. So yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on hiring talent.
My final question for you. Tell us about the different lessons that you have learned both as investor and as an entrepreneur that we can take away and apply to our ventures.
I think one common learning from entrepreneurship and investments, being an investor, is the power of networking. You can replace everything, but if you're just sitting in your office in a cubicle without interacting with anybody, um, there's a lot that you're missing out on.
Mhm.
You need to be out there, you need to interact with people, you need to learn from others. And there is a massive learning curve there, and the kind of growth you will see by networking is, I think, unparalleled. Because when you talk to people, you don't only learn a few things, but you also get introduced to other people who you never know, where they will come in your life, maybe not now, maybe 10 years later. But that will always add on to your journey as an entrepreneur, as an investor. And the way you communicate, your communication skills, I think all of that comes into the picture when you are networking, and I think it sets the tone for the rest of your journey. So I think networking for me personally has been extremely important, and I think it does for everyone else also. So be out there and talk to people, network, and I think you will see a lot of. And also, you need to be open-minded, right? To grasp new ideas and not have your inhibitions in what you believe in. You need to understand what the other person's mindset is, where they are coming from. If you're open to ideas and if you're open to understanding other ideas, then there is a lot to learn and grow.
Thanks for your time, Sanit, and it was a great session. We had the honor to host you. Our best wishes for G Story and all the ventures that you are interested in.
Likewise, it was a pleasure talking to you, Priya, and thank you for some amazing questions there.